Welcome back everyone to the video, and today we are talking about Bo Nix and the Broncos offense heading into 2024. Now, I'm going to be honest, I did these videos a lot, probably about a month and a half ago, with like Caleb Williams and Drake May and Jaden Daniels. I honestly just kind of forgot to do Bo Nix and the Broncos. I wanted to hit every single rookie quarterback in this kind of like brief overview I was doing for a lot of teams, and it just kind of slipped my mind. So I wanted to come back and go ahead and do it now before we do the whole AFC West breakdown later on this offseason. The first of the team, like division breakdowns will be very in-depth, like an hour-long video going over each team in every division. The first one is the NFC South. That'll be out later next week or later this week, sometime around there. So be on the lookout for that. For Bo Nix and the Broncos, I want to start with just Bo Nix's prospect grade. So he was graded a 6.39, which is equivalent to will eventually be a plus starter. If we're going to come down here, Now, if you've seen me do these videos before, then you know that I like to go over every single player's strengths and weaknesses. I'm not going to read through every single one. If you'd like to, go ahead, pause the video, whatever you want to do there. I'm going to highlight just a few of these, though, starting with Bo Nix's strengths. Now, I really like the third one down from the top, shows ability to work through options and find what he likes. Now, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on this video as well, so I guess just kind of have that in the back of your mind. Ball comes off his hand with good pace and without much effort. Play extender with arm talent to win with secondary action as passer. Internal clock and athleticism help him avoid sacks. So those are all things that I really like about Bo Nix. These things that I think translate very well to the next level, or at least will be very beneficial if it translates to the next level. Because, obviously NFL speed, much faster, more physical. A lot of things are a bit different there. But the internal clock, I think, is very, very important. We've seen guys quarterbacks step up and, get themselves sacked or roll out too early and then the play's busted. It just kind of doesn't always work very well for them when they do that. Also, toughness and talent to move the sticks on called runs. If need be, he's not afraid to take a hit, which again, a bit different in the NFL compared to college as far as taking those hits. But still, it's good that he has that kind of fire in him. For weaknesses, though, and I've seen this talked about a lot with Bo Nix, the first one, nearly 30% of his passes in 2023 are thrown behind the line of scrimmage per PFF. That's obviously very interesting. I'm not sure if I've ever seen a quarterback prospect with a percentage near that high of passes thrown behind the line of scrimmage. But again, we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. Tends to short arm throws when blitz is leaking in. Left easy touchdowns on the field due to overthrows and needs to do a better job of throwing receivers away from coverage. Now, to me, a lot of these things here are things that can be fixed and at least helped, developed, coached, whatever word you want to use there. I do think they can be improved. So I'm not going to say that his weaknesses are like, completely, take me off of Bo Nix as a prospect. Like, I'm not going to, it's not like a make or break, if that makes sense. I like to use it as references. I'm not going to use this to make or break the prospect. However, I do think it is important to highlight some of these things. And for the weaknesses, the 30% of his passes in 2023 was obviously very, it kind of sticks out the page to you, or sticks off the page to you. But everything else, I don't think I'm going to freak out about. I want to see Bo Nix on the field first before I kind of go back to these, but I think they are worth noting. The second thing the Broncos did in the offseason, at least in the draft, was actually drafting Troy Franklin in round 4, which is a bit of a steal, who is actually Bo Nix's teammate in college. He's graded as a 6.35 prospect grade, which is equivalent to will eventually be a plus starter. And coming down to his strengths and weaknesses, can hit corners with a wicked crossover to uncover on quick slants. Accelerates pass and stacks cornerbacks behind him. Talented after the catch and will hit his share of catch and run scores. I love that about Troy Franklin. This is a big time playmaker. He's gonna be one of those guys where he catches it, 15 yards, and all of a sudden 45 yards later, it's a massive play because of his ability after the catch. Explosive leaper with loose upper body to twist and pluck it. Now, this is something that I actually kind of wanted the Panthers to get in the draft as a Panthers fan. Ultimately, they traded up for Xavier Legette, and Troy Franklin also kind of fell a bit. So I think it was great value for the Broncos, because if you like this guy as a prospect, then round 2, round 1 may have been a bit of a stretch, but I think it can be relatively agreed upon that round 4 for this guy is, I would say, pretty good value. And as for his weaknesses, below average strength and could struggle against physicality, unable to hold off challengers and save catch space when contested. Ball tracking inconsistencies will pop up at times, and focus drops are part of the package. So again, this isn't someone that's going to be like a jump ball receiver and you can consistently rely on to catch it in traffic and on the sideline, all this kind of stuff. That's not really his game. He's more Slants, crossers, explosive after the catch. He's not going to be a guy that's like going over the top of a defender and ripping the ball down. It's just not his game. And I don't think the Broncos are like, trying to get that out of him. I think they already kind of have that addressed. This is a big time playmaker that has experience working with their potential starting quarterback this year, and that can really go a long way. And like I've done for these videos in the past, I like to show the RAS score for a lot of these receiver prospects. Now, if you know what that is the relative athletic score, which is a composite grade on a scale of 1 to 10, which factors in a prospect's height, weight, 40-yard dash, 3-cone drill, broad jump, vertical, and it factors all that in. Now, Franklin scored a 9.02 out of 10, which is very high, and that is also with not scoring well on the weight category, which really kind of brought his score down a little bit. So it says a lot for his explosion and speed grades to be that high that it still holds the overall score at a 9. Again, it shows it goes hand in hand with what we've seen just looking at with his strengths and weaknesses. This is someone that is quick, that is explosive, and that is going to all of a sudden make those short little gains, big first downs, 20-yard gains, and that's really what the Broncos need. So I like this pick a lot for the Broncos. I like this a lot going into 2024 for them. And let's just get to the whole team now. So just looking at the Broncos offense. Now, technically, Bo Nix is the second-string quarterback as of right now, and the starter is Jarrett Stidham. Now, just for Jarrett Stidham, I will say I don't think this is something that you are panicking and trying to get him out of the game immediately. I think it's someone you can live with as a starter. But if he struggles, I don't see any reason why Sean Payton would want to keep this guy in there. Sean Payton just picked his guy, top 15. And, if Jarrett Stidham's struggling, let's see what Bo Nix can do. But at the same time, Bo Nix is not someone you want to throw out there too early week 1, ruin his confidence, and all of a sudden you're in a hole. So I like him being able to sit for the first few weeks, seeing what Jarrett Stidham can do. But if we're at week 6, week 7, and the Broncos are like a game below 500, I think that's when you throw Bo Nix out there. And in that event that Bo Nix is out there, this is his surrounding cast. And I think it's very interesting because it's a very deep running back room. Sean Payton's been very open about wanting to run the ball, and I like that a lot for Bo Nix. It takes the pressure off of him. If you have a very strong running game, not as much is going to be asked of your quarterback to make up for the lack of production on offense. And then from there, it becomes, having the guy do things he's not ready for, and it becomes discombobulated. We've seen that in New York with Zach Wilson, but honestly, that was just more, he's just not very good. And again, that was just kind of playing too early, wasn't the right pick, you name it. But again, it did not work there. For Bo Nix, though, very strong running game, and I like that a lot for his setup. And Samaje Perine is a very good receiving back as well. Very underrated. He can make plays happen out of the backfield. Javonte Williams was very good his rookie year, tore his ACL. Hasn't quite been the same. We'll see how he is this year. But even still, you have Javonte Williams, Samaje Perine, a proven veteran, Jaleel McLaughlin, who had a pretty good year last year as a rookie, and then you also draft Audric Estime, who also, again, has potential to be a pretty good running back in his rookie year, depending on much how he actually sees the field. But again, receiving-wise, so number 1, Courtland Sutton. I don't think there's any questions around him. Courtland Sutton is one of the more underrated wide receivers in the entire NFL, in my opinion. I like that a lot. He's someone that can, make those more contested catches and, those catches in traffic. So I like that a lot. Josh Reynolds, I think, is pretty underrated. He was decent in Detroit. I don't know how I feel about him being wide receiver number 2. If that is a role that, you guys think he's confident and limited down below. But for me, I think that's a little iffy there. I think Marvin Mims definitely has some potential. He made some pretty decent plays last year, his rookie year. I'd like to see him now, another full offseason, first year under his belt, see if he can take another step. And then after that, you have Tim Patrick, who honestly was pretty good, and then he tears his ACL, and then last year working back from his ACL, tears his Achilles in training camp. So 2 horrible injuries back-to-back. I'm not sure what we're going to see out of him, so I'm honestly not really going to talk about him very much because, if he bounces back fully healthy, it's going to be awesome. He's a great receiver. But, 2 big injuries like that, I mean, this could be someone that just slowly, unfortunately, drifts out of the league. And, it sucks, but it does happen. Injuries are awful, but, it's the reality. So, Tim Patrick, kind of an unfortunate situation there, but I'm not going to rule him out completely. And that's where we find Troy Franklin. And again, I think Troy fits into this offense very well, too, because they don't really have a receiver like him. You have Sutton, who's a more, like I said, contested catcher, sideline, you name it, kind of tougher catches like that. more like wide receiver one material, basically. But Franklin has that unique ability to make those plays that aren't, intended to be huge, huge. He's able to, just explode plays like that. And I don't really think Josh Reynolds or Marvin Mims are really the type to do that. I think if either one of them could, it'd be Marvin Mims, who's shown to have pretty explosive plays so far. But again, that depends heavily on how he actually, does in year two. So then after that, we have Adam Troutman for starting tight end, and also Greg Dulcich, who is still questionable. I'm not sure what he's looking like as far as health goes, but he's not a terrible tight end when healthy. But again, Adam Troutman kind of won over that job last year whenever Dulcich went down. So we'll see how that goes. But seriously, looking at this, to me, it's like, I personally have said this offseason that I am not high on the Broncos, and I'm not very high on Bo Nix. But there's two things that I have to always keep in mind, and I also want to say in this video just for everybody to kind of note as well, is that, for one, there's always a chance things come together quicker than projected. We saw it last year at the Texans. That's a very extreme example, but it does happen. It's not impossible where you see all of a sudden 1 year things just completely turn around with hitting on a huge pick, guys stepping up, and great coaching. It's not impossible. It does happen. 2021, the Bengals, also pretty similar to that. So, again, I'm not going to rule that completely out, but I wouldn't say it's totally probable to happen this year. And the second thing that you have to consider is that, Bo Nix is just better than expected, that he really just comes in and actually lights it up. Now, we talked about before on his prospect profiles that he likes to kind of go through his reads. He's good at doing that. And that's where I think he works very well into this offense with Troy Franklin, because this is someone you can kind of put in the flats. So Bo Nix doesn't have to force the ball down the field, and Franklin can still turn those 2-3 yard catches into more 4, 5, 6 yard catches. And it's not, a huge gain, but there is a difference there, and it does provide your quarterback some sort of confidence. There's also the part that they have experience working together. They have chemistry. This isn't a new connection. So I think that's a huge benefit there. And I think a lot of it does hinge on Bo Nix, but at the same time, and I guess third thing to consider too is that this isn't a 1 year thing. It doesn't have to be. Would it be great for the Broncos to 1 year turn things around? Absolutely. But it's okay for them to suck this year, as long as we can see Bo Nix show potential, Sean Payton have a true vision for this team where everyone can kind of see the direction it's going, and hopefully that direction is forward. And the rest of the offense really mesh well together. That's really what you're looking for, because this isn't like an easy division. You got to play the Chiefs twice a year, and then the Chargers and Raiders, who are both pretty similar to you. There's not really any games you can really kind of stamp in this division as that could be a huge win there. You're going to be tested, but I really do think that if the Broncos can squeak out with 7, 8 wins like what they got last year, I think you're going to be looking pretty good going into next year, because now you have more confidence in Bo Nix, you have more confidence in Sean Payton, because Payton has a vision for this team. He picked Bo Nix quite high. Whether you think he should have been round 1 or round 4, doesn't matter now. He was taken round 1, so it's going to have to, I guess it's yet to be seen how that's going to turn out for them, but Sean Payton's a proven coach in the NFL, and getting his guy that high, it says a lot about what he sees for the rest of this offense. And so I'm not going to say the Broncos have the toughest schedule in the world, because, well, they honestly really don't. I mean, you have, of course, the Chiefs twice, you have the Ravens once, you have the Bengals, you have the Jets, but, after that, you have Atlanta, who should be pretty good, and Cleveland. But, after that, I think you're pretty similar to Pittsburgh, to be honest with you. I think, both teams are on the fringe of, that 500 line, where that should be a pretty good game. I think the Raiders and Chargers are both very similar. I think the Saints are very similar. The Panthers, obviously, you could probably beat them. There's the Colts, who should be, I think, probably a step above you, but I think it could still be competitive. So it's this isn't an impossible schedule at all. It just depends on how much things actually click in year 1, which to me, I don't think it's going to be a 10-win season. I see it more of 8 wins or 7 wins. But to me, as long as you're making progress and you feel very confident in Bo Nix after year 1, that's a pretty solid season in my opinion. So guys, let me know down below what you guys think of the Broncos in year 1 with Bo Nix in there and Sean Payton's kind of first real season with the Broncos after getting Russell Wilson out of there. You have Troy Franklin you drafted. You bring in Josh Reynolds, still have Courtland Sutton. It should be a pretty interesting offense to keep an eye on. So let me know down below what your guys' opinion is on that. Thanks for watching. I do really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Division breakdowns are coming very soon, along with other tier lists and other rankings. Always NFL content on the channel. So make sure to subscribe. Road to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you guys for all the support there, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.